Welcome to Performer Stuff Pro Series, a collaborative forum where working professionals can share together their knowledge, experience, hopefully a little wisdom, but most importantly, their collective passions for live entertainment. I'm Pawsey, and today I am hosting a roundtable discussion with members from the West End cast of the comedy about a bank robbery. Ashley Tucker, Ross Virgo, and Chris Leask. Panelists, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to ask you a question to start with. The three of you have 30 seconds to tell us about the comedy about the bank robbery. Go.
They break a criminal out of a Canadian prison.
And that criminal wants to steal a diamond from a tiny rundown bank.
That criminal called Mitch gets the help from Caprice, Sam and Cooper, and they hatch a plan together to steal this diamond worth $500,000.
Comedy ensues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. It's got like hilarious farcical elements such as mistaken identities. Everyone pretty much gets hit in the face at one point. Mm-hmm. And there's like a complicated love triangle. But most importantly, it's better than any other show in the world.
So your character was called everyone else. Ashley, your character was Ruth.
Yes, sorry, yes. Ruth Mona.
Thank you. And then Ross, tell us your involvement.
I was part of the same cast that Ashley was in. So we did the tour, and then we went into the West End, and I was one of three male understudies, and I covered Warren, Chuck, Sam, Free Boys, and Cooper.
Did you go on as every single one of them?
Yes, I did. Yes, multiple times.
Why did you become professional actors, Ashley?
Why did I become a professional actor? It kind of came from as a young tween, really enjoying it, pretending it being something I wasn't, and that thing constantly being different. Also, really enjoying storytelling, and mainly just really liking it when I made other people laugh.
Chris?
Well, I mean, it wasn't for the money. And without like going too deep into my past, at school I wasn't very academic, but I loved acting and I loved drama because there was no right or wrong. No one was going to sit there and tell you it was wrong. It's just your interpretation of it. And I loved how liberating and creative that was and how exciting that was. Plus my brother was an actor, so I just copied him.
Ross?
I went through a period of trying to do other things, like try and do what the cool kids were doing, trying to play football, which I'm terrible at, among other things. And then there was a point when I kind of realized, probably towards the end of what we have over here is secondary school, and I just realized, I don't kind of care anymore. Like, I don't care what anyone thinks of me. I enjoy it. I have fun doing it. And that's what kind of lights me up more than anything else. So I thought I'd be blindingly optimistic and try and pursue a career in it.
Good. Chris, you mentioned money. We sort of laugh a little bit about making a living in the business, but do you guys seriously think that you can make a living? Clearly you do, because you're all successful actors. Ashley?
I think you need to have that you do need to have a certain amount of self-belief, 100%. But I think it is certainly possible. I mean, we've done it. So, I mean, it's not without setback, and it's not without sometimes doing other stuff in between. But it definitely is possible. I think being a performer or working in any part of the creative industry gives you such a wide skill set and tenacity that you really can turn your hand to a lot of different things. So I completely think it's possible, 100%.
Ross?
Yeah, I think there's especially when you're younger and you're just getting into the kind of the game, you start to think, to be a successful actor, I have to be one of the 1%, the 2%ers, which, don't get me wrong, would be lovely if Marvel happens to be watching this. I think to call yourself a successful actor, I would describe that as someone who is able to make an income from acting. And if you can do that, with a combination of theatre, film, TV, radio, voiceover, performance capture, like if you can make income from doing performative jobs, then I think that's that's the dream, really. And if you happen to do a couple of red carpet gigs or something like that, that'd be cracking. But it's not the be all and end all, certainly.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I think to be absolutely honest, I think it is hard to make a living out of being an actor. I think realistically, if you come into this thinking that, like Ross, you were saying, you're going to be the 1 or 2%, I hope to God you are, because that's amazing. I have never met that actor. And I've met quite a lot of famous actors, and even they had a part-time job when they were younger. And I think actually, if you come into this job and you have a realistic outlook of going, I am going to have a part-time job, I will get a job and it will be an acting job and I'll have a great time, but 6 months later, I may not get an acting job for a year. That's okay. That happens. You just might have to get a part-time job somewhere else and work at your art. And that's all. And if anything, how fortunate that those experiences can make you more rounded as an individual and more down to earth. I think it's only a positive thing. And so I think it's just part of our career is accepting that you are going to have to get part-time jobs sometimes to pay the bills. But when you do get an acting job, it is vital you remember to save money. I've not met one actor yet who can save money. There is a man who deals with tax. He will turn up to your house. Save your money.
Thank you for that piece of advice.
You're welcome.
Have any of you ever considered giving up the business because it's tough?
Not yet.
No, not quite yet. I think there are definitely moments where even doing a show like Bank Robbery, when you're in an incredibly privileged and fortunate position, which you're immeasurably grateful for, there are inevitably going to be days where you're like, crikey, this is hard work. Like, this is hard. There's a reason why not everyone does it. Like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And so there are days where you kind of go, whew, I am ready for bed. But I want to sleep for 3 weeks. But
8 days a week, babe. 8 days a week.
But that's never been enough to kind of say, nah, I should probably jack it all in for something else. No, not yet.
Okay. Chris?
It was so strange because actually I was chatting with my flatmate today, who's an actress, and we were chatting about our years and how many. I mean, we're still young. We're early 30s. We're 30s, so like. And we were chatting about how many people have dropped out since we've graduated, and it's interesting because it's quite a lot of people, and I don't know why that's the case. I think it's a hard career to get into because I think we all go into this career assuming that we know how it's going to go and we're in control of it, when actually you soon realize the ones who survive are the ones who go, it's doing what it wants to do. We can, if we want to, get on the train with it and enjoy it, or just get off. But you have no control over it. If you try and control it, I think it drives you insane. So I think once you understand that, like, you've just got to do your thing and it's going to do its thing, I think that's a nice survival mechanism, I find anyway.
How do you maintain 8 shows a week in the West End? Ross, let's start with you.
Oh, wow. Don't underestimate how much sleep you need. I think you can be like, oh yes, it's all free and exciting, and I want to make the most of my West End lifestyle, which in reality is actually just sleeping all the time. Like sleeping, the show that we were doing was obviously quite a madcap physical one, so you had to be quite physically fit, making sure you were looking after that, making sure that you're looking after what you eat. Bing, hello. And just kind of really prioritizing. I know it's a very kind of loaded term at the moment, but like self-care, like really prioritizing looking after yourself so that you can deliver. In the same way that if you were a guitarist and you were playing guitar, you would make sure your guitar is polished and preened and the strings are all intact. You've got to do that to yourself.
So sleeping and my steamer, and just as Ross said, just sort of making sure you look after your mental health, because you can get into a vortex, and especially if you're doing a show 8 shows a week in the winter in England, and you don't see, you go into work for a 2-show day, and for us it was a 4-show weekend, so matinee, Saturday, matinee, Sunday, you don't see the sunshine at all. So probably some vitamin D is a really good idea as well.
Thank you. Chris?
You don't need sleep. Ignore them. No. No, I think exercising, eat well, do sleep. I do believe massively, I think in all aspects of this career, you need to have a life outside work. Like, our job isn't unique in that way. You need to find hobbies and something outside of work, because it will take over your life. Because it's an incredibly vulnerable job that we do. And if it's all you're doing, it's actually really hard. You may only work 3 hours a night, but it's really hard, especially if you've had a horrible time. And that adrenaline rush that you get after, it's quite hard to come down by. And that can be having a life outside by socializing with your friends and not sleeping. Seeing your family, playing sports, having a hobby of some sort. So when you come in, you're ready for your job. Whereas I find sometimes if you're tired, which you are going to get, especially as we did 2 shows Saturday, 2 shows Sunday, when you come in and you're exhausted, if all you've done is that job, you won't come in with a bad energy, but it takes a lot of strength to try and change that energy. It's quite hard to stay focused, so you need a life outside, and also warm up. That is the most important thing.
So, panelists, thank you very much for sharing a small part of yourselves within our Performer Stuff Pro Series, and for helping to keep entertainment alive, nourished, and full of hope. And for those watching this, please dream big. And while you're dreaming, look out for more Performer Stuff Pro Series coming your way real soon. Ashley, Chris, Ross, thank you very much indeed. Toodle pip, everybody.